feel like lately all horror movies have been the same, but damn, Late Night with the Devil is just different.
Good evening, night owls, and thank you for allowing me into your living rooms once again.
Late Night with the Devil is about Jack Delroy, a late night talk show host whose ratings for his show are in the trash. And his show is basically about to get canceled, so he does something he thinks can save it. And on Halloween night, he does a special episode where he invites a few people that have to do with spirituality, the dead, paranormal, all that stuff. And in doing that, he starts to create a very demonic possession type atmosphere and set, and things start to get a little weird. Now, this movie, I heard a lot about it. I heard it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, heard audiences were going crazy about it, and I was like, what the hell? A Shudder film getting this much praise? And I've heard a lot of Shudder films getting a lot of praise, but this was just interesting because this was getting a big release in theaters, so I was like, I gotta check it out. So went to a late night showing, and honestly, I was pretty impressed. Now, I'll talk about the good stuff first because there's a lot of good stuff. Now, David Desmalchian, I love this guy. This guy's a great actor. He's been in some of my favorite movies of all time. Speaking of The Dark Knight, he's great in The Dark Knight. He always plays kind of a weirdo, and kind of an outcast, especially he plays Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad, and I thought he was like awesome in that role. And like in this role, you get to see him front and center stage, and I thought it was awesome. I was like, I love seeing him as a leading man. He did a phenomenal job as a talk show host. Supposedly, he did a lot of research before this role on some Australian talk show host that he used to watch a lot. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the rest of the cast is honestly really damn good. He has a co-host that kind of does things with him, and he did a great job. The characters, Christo, Dr. June, Lily, and Carmichael, they all did phenomenal in their roles. I thought they did pretty damn good. Even the audience was good. The audience got some screen time too, and some of those actors there did pretty damn good. So I was very impressed on the cast, especially the direction of things. This is a very creative film. I have not seen a movie in a long time where I was so attracted to the screen because of the style of the film. The whole film is a talk show. So it's filmed like if you're watching Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, and it's really cool because it is like that the entire time. Super consistent. Now, it is in the late 70s, so it has a very old, unique style to it, but it's super dope, and it really comes out like on camera really well. The set design is perfect. Obviously, it is a low-budget horror movie, but it makes it look pretty expensive and looks like a very pristine film. Like, this is cinema. Literally, the Martin Scorsese meme, this is cinema. This is what this fucking movie is. And I thought it was a great time. Now, there is a few things that I'm like, I wouldn't really call this a horror movie because it's not really a horror movie until the last, 10 minutes. But there is a lot of suspense. There are some really great suspenseful scenes in this film that I was very impressed by. I was like, wow, I'm actually nervous sitting here, even though I kind of know what's going to happen. Like most horror movies, when something's going to happen. But it was really cool. There wasn't any cheap jump scares. There really wasn't any jump scares. A lot of the tension was just built on set in front of this audience. It added so much more because you're in a talk show. There's limited space. There's an audience. There's just a few people, band members and stuff. So a lot of the intense scenes were really well done to this confined, small area. And it was really cool. And I'm not the biggest fan of demonic possession films, even though this wasn't really a demonic possession film. It just kind of had aspects of that. But they did it really well here because the main thing of this film is this girl named Lily. She is possessed. She has a demon in her, but she can control it. So Dr. June, that he invites on the show, he basically pressures her to release this demon on set so they can gain more views. And it starts to get a little crazy. And the voice of the demon was cool. The practical effects on her face was really dope. And it has a wild finale. For all you horror fans that love gore and violence and stuff like myself, I'm not gonna lie, the ending does pay off a bit. There is a lot of wild shit that happens at the end of the movie, just like boom, 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 that you're kind of expecting, but when it happens, it's actually pretty satisfying. There is one death that I think they could have went a little harder on because they did go hard on these other two deaths, but that's just my preference. But really, this is a great movie, and I have not said that about a horror movie in a long time. I think the last horror movie that I really enjoyed was Saw X, because that was honestly just a phenomenal film. I love that movie so much. But with this movie, I was very, very impressed. I think this is way better than Eli Ross Thanksgiving that came out a few months ago. Thanksgiving had cool kills, but that movie was a little too long, and there really wasn't much happening. So I really enjoyed this. It's a shorter format film. It's only like an hour, 30 minutes. Definitely check this out if you're out on a date, out with family, friends. It's really not that crazy of a movie. So if you're not like a horror fan, I think you could still get a lot out of this movie. It's really fun. It's funny, has a lot of funny moments. I'm not going to lie to you. I do have to mention this. You know how movies start off, and when it starts off, it shows like some of the movie production studios that helped fund this film and everything. Well, there is like 5 million production studios a part of this film because this movie took like 5 minutes to start. Once the like AMC and Nicole Kidman walked her sexy ass off the screen, this movie took 5 minutes to start. It showed every production studio. Like, we started laughing in the theater because of how many studios were just, their logos just kept popping up. These little intros they do, like how like 20th Century Fox pops up, stuff like that. Just so many companies' logos were just kept popping up. And we were like, when does this movie start? Like, I was dying of laughter. So that's just funny. So get ready for like 5 minutes of like another preview before the movie starts, kind of, because that was hilarious. But when the movie starts, it really keeps you in. Now, on the creepiness of the movie, I don't think it was really creepy. There is a one really creepy shot where the camera does kind of have a staticky screen on it, and there's like a screaming, like creepy ass face that starts popping up in the static that I was like, that's cool, but I never want to see that again because, bro, that was creepy. That was on some Smile level stuff. You guys seen Smile, the ending of that movie where that creepy face comes out? That's nightmare fuel right there. But other than that, it wasn't really a tense movie, and I mean, it was a tense movie. It wasn't scary though. So that's really my kind of opinion on that. But where the film kind of falls, I do think the ending does lack a bit. It's kind of like, that was it, really. Like, I could have probably summed that up like 30 minutes in. I just didn't want to predict the movie like right there because I didn't want to ruin it. But it was an ending where it was like, come on, that was it. That's what this movie's about. Like, I thought it was cool, but it just ended up kind of being a typical horror movie at the end. But what makes it really fun is because it's a different movie. I've really never seen any movie filmed like this before. I just don't think it nails the landing that much. It's just like, eh. It's like, okay. It's like, okay, the movie ended, and you get the point of the movie, and then that's it. And most horror movies, I do feel like that sometimes. Sometimes I don't feel like they feel the landing because maybe they have to end in some shock value or just some outlandish ass ending where you're like, really? Yeah, I feel like we could have maybe leaned closer to something cooler or more entertaining. But for what it's worth, it was a great time. I haven't seen a horror movie where I thoroughly enjoyed it throughout the whole film. I did not want it to stop. I thought it was pretty good. My friend I went with literally thought the movie just started by the time it ended. Like, they wanted more. And I was like, hey, that speaks to the filmmaking of this because it was a pretty damn good time. Like I said, the cast is great. The directing is great. I just think the ending does fall flat in a lot of areas, and I think it could have ended a little stronger on that ending. But great performances. David Dastmalchian killed that shit. I cannot wait to see him in another film. And definitely, if you love just movies, go see this because it's more than just a horror film. It's just an actual, just great film about loss, about greed, about pushing things to the limit, and you paying for it at the end. And I think it's a great movie. And there is some like interesting stuff throughout. Now I do want to address one thing. This movie has gotten a lot of press because there are AI images in the film that are like seen for like literal seconds, and it's getting shitted on for that. And it's so funny to me because this movie was made like 3 years ago, before the AI conversation was even being talked about. And it's so funny that they're on this press tour apologizing for AI images. And it's like, dude, they were doing this just for fun, and it's only on the screen for like 30 seconds, and the conversation of AI wasn't even a thing back then. So it's just kind of funny to me how that's the press this movie's getting, instead of this movie being like, oh, this movie's great, go see it. But it definitely is a great movie. I just think it could have been an amazing movie if that ending landed a little more. But definitely, if you're a horror fan, if you're just a movie lover in general, go see Late Night with the Devil, because you will not be disappointed. Also, to the woman in my theater that just screamed bloody murder at the end of the movie, you need to like never go to a theater again, because why the hell are you screaming like that in a theater? You were screaming like someone was stabbing you. Like, what the fuck? Dude, there is some deaths in the end of this movie that are like wild, and no one screamed. No one said a thing. People were being normal human beings and just sitting there and taking in the movie. And at the most minuscule death in the film, that's not even anything crazy, this lady just wants to scream her head off. Don't come to a theater. Don't go see a horror movie, because I don't know how you're handling every other horror movie if you can't even handle the littlest thing there. Don't scream in a theater, because you deserve to be pulled out by security, and they need to beat the... But thank you guys for watching. This was a really fun video to make. I really wanted to talk about this movie because I love horror movies, and Blood Bucket is going to be a thing I'm going to be doing for a while, with just celebrating horror films, no matter if they're new, no matter if they're old. If there's not a new horror movie coming out this week or whenever week, I will be reviewing films that I love from the back in the day, nuance horror movies, whatever. And we're going to celebrate horror movies together. Now, that won't be the only thing on this channel, but Blood Bucket will happen every week, once a week at least, or maybe even twice a week, depending on how I feel. But definitely stay tuned for more Blood Bucket action, because we're going to talk about some horror movies. We're going to get a little crazier. We're going to get a little weirder, and we're going to get a little stranger. And remember, whether you're a late night talk show host, a demon-possessed girl, or an audience filled with happy white people, don't mess with the dead, because you may end up having a late night with the devil. My name's Benito, and I'll see you on the next one.